So next question is from Sonia. Can you recommend a good supplement for fat burning for someone who trains consistently?
No, that's it. I think we're done. So cheers. All right. Thanks, Ed.
The amount of people over the years who I've gotten off specific fat burner products that have lost weight like within a week, 2 weeks later. So I suppose let's talk about some of the mechanics of that. I remember I had one girl came to see me and she was on like 3 different fat burners and she was wondering why she couldn't sleep at night. I was like, are you for real? I think she's on like 600 to 800 milligrams of caffeine a day.
That's the thing. It's just because of the caffeine. That's the thing people do not understand. It is because of the caffeine there.
Yeah, but they also do something smart. They put like a little bit of niacin in most of the fat burners, so you get a little bit of a flush from the B3 flushing. So that's why you feel like caffeine and a bit of a flush. You feel like it's working. Like I feel more vascular. It's just the niacin, right? You could buy that for like $10. It's not going to help you burn fat. So let's talk about that because a lot of people don't understand what it is. So, I mean, you've got your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, right? So your parasympathetic is your rest and digest. Your sympathetic is your fight or flight, right? So when you're training, you want sympathetic to be active, right? So when you're training, having a cup of coffee before you're training, very, very beneficial into pushing you into that sympathetic drive where you can do your best, right? And also, hopefully, will trigger some cortisol. Cortisol will help mobilize blood glucose. Blood glucose is then going to be utilized during your training when you're physically active. Now, if you take that substrate, let's say in this case, caffeine, which is guarana in fat-burning tablets or whatever it is, in most fat-burning tablets, there is some form of stimulant that goes into that fat-burning tablet, right? If you have that, let's say, at intermittent times of the day, on top of if you're having coffee, let's say it calls for your fat burner to have it at like, 6 o'clock. Well, that's going to, PM that is. You're going to want to start rest and digest. You're going to want to be going parasympathetic, right? And now you're boosting that up and having, you're boosting you over to sympathetic when you want to be rest and digest. And that's going to make you harder to sleep, right? Because caffeine also has a half-life and binds with adenosine in your brain. So if you're having, let's say, 100 milligrams at, say, 6 p.m., there's what, a 4-hour, 6-hour half-life of caffeine?
I think it goes up to 8 hours.
8 hours.
Yeah.
So that means that like 8 hours in, like let's say in the middle of night where you want melatonin to be high.
Yeah, it's 50 milligrams.
You've still got 50 milligrams, left over. You've had 100 milligrams at 6 p.m. So any way you cut it, this isn't good for sleep. And sleep, if you want one supplement for fat loss, it's sleep. Like you got it for free, you can do it. Like the better quality of sleep you're going to have. If by nothing, like if I was to recommend one thing that you could do aside from diet and training, right? If you just said do one thing for fat loss, it'd be sleep properly. Like get to bed on time and have 8 hours a night, bar none, and don't have coffee. And I know these people who say, I can have coffee, fall asleep, it's fine. Well, it's still affecting your sleep because of the adenosine receptors, and it's still bumping you into sympathetic, right? No one is going to get out of that.
And that's the thing. If you can have caffeine and go to sleep, you already have an underlying problem. Your cortisol is completely jacked up. Your adrenal glands is completely jacked up to the point where you actually need caffeine to try to function a bit at 12 a.m. at night and you still fall asleep. That is completely messed up. You probably need to check yourself in terms of seeing how your cortisol is going as well as, your circadian rhythm. Are you producing enough melatonin to actually function and actually be well itself there?
Yeah.
So
the other thing they do in a lot of fat loss formulas is they put like tyrosine. And again, tyrosine is an amino acid that's going to boost dopamine in the brain. So if you're having it at night or having it during the day, what this can do for some people is they get anxious when they have fat burners. Like I know that many people who they come in and like, I'm taking these fat burners. I'm like, are you anxious? Yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, well, this has got like, tyrosine and this in it and this in it and B vitamins, just ramping those pathways of dopamine. And this is where people think like dopamine, I need dopamine. Most people like already don't have a problem with dopamine, right? Some people do, some lazy people do. They need more dopamine. But if you're an A performer, if you're an A plus player, if you're already got like a business and you're hustling hard, whatever, you probably don't have a problem with dopamine. You probably actually need to settle that and get into what's an optimal range because there's always a bell curve, right? So if you push that, you push it to the point of anxiousness. And that's not a place that you want to be in terms of performance because anxiousness is going to actually impede your performance, not actually increase it. With that said, there are some things, fat-burning wise, like berberine.
Yes. Yohimbine.
Yes.
Yes, there's research for that too, specifically for stubborn body fat. But then the thing is, all right, so at the end of the day, fat-burning supplements, there are some, but you gotta sort your diet out first. Sort your diet out and let your sleep go really well, and you most probably just lose fat by itself there. So there's no point of investing extra cash or extra, money itself there just to amp yourself up, really.
Yeah, well, I suppose an eloquent way to do fat loss supplements is to optimize biochemistry. So it's really then about looking at like, what is your insulin status, or like how insulin sensitive are you? Can we influence that? But it's also like, how much carbs are you having? Because there's no point really influencing someone's insulin sensitivity if they're not eating any carbs. Because like if I'm going to have like, say, berberine, for example, or one of the glucose disposal
alpha
kind of
lipoic
formulas,
acid.
right? Yeah, exactly, right? Like alpha, all these things. Like I'm not going to just have it and just not eat carbs.
Oh, you're going to pass out.
Yeah, I'm going to have it. I'm going to eat a whole bunch of carbs so that way I can get those carbs into the muscle, right? So it's going to increase my insulin sensitivity to then utilize those carbohydrates so my body can uptake them and work better, essentially. So I'm getting more bang for buck. So the other thing is, like, if you look at cortisol, people are stressed all the time. If you're struggling with body fat because you're stressed, well then the supplement regime is going to be different. It's going to be things like vitamin C or adrenal herbs. You might even go
adaptogens,
yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's going to help you with stress, but by side effect, you're going to get a fat loss result. So I suppose in summary on this one, there's almost never a case, I don't think there's ever a case where I ever give someone a fat loss supplement.
Yeah.
I'm giving them things to support function hormonally, whether it be or
Fixed foundations.
Yeah, correct. Support the foundation with the supplements. There's no fat loss supplement.
Yeah.